Right. What's up, everybody?
Yeah.
George
Look,
is like,
I don't know about the rest of y'all motherfuckers, but yesterday was, it should have been if it wasn't a Saturday, it should be a holiday. No one should have, any man who has any interest in college football or football period did nothing yesterday. They sat on the couch like Al Bundy, rubbing the fucking top of their pubes all day, trying not to spill beer on themselves while eating fucking nachos and watching football, because that shit was exciting from about fucking noon to midnight last night.
It was good. It was such, you had, I mean, obviously we only had one top 10 battle, but man, everything else. And we'll start out with Alabama.
Right, but you had ranked teams playing all over the board. You had, LSU versus TCU. That was 2 ranked teams.
Yeah.
You had Clemson versus Georgia. That was 2 more ranked teams. Mm-hmm. I mean, did Boise State play? Because I know that's important to no one.
Well, Clemson and Georgia was the one top 10 battle. So you knew that right away was going to set up, how things went. And obviously you had the SEC team going against the ACC team. That was a great fucking game. It was back and forth. And obviously Taj Boyd is fucking nasty, dude. I mean, they also, the Clemson head coach went out and hired this offensive coordinator. He's the highest paid offensive coordinator in the country, making him over $1 million a year. It's fucking crazy,
and
people are starting to say, this Taj Boyd is smart. He's obviously, he can scramble and make plays happen. He's got a great arm, and they're starting to make comparisons to him to Russell Wilson, which I think is pretty fair comparison. But I will say this about Russell Wilson. They have to remember, Russell Wilson played in like 400 fucking systems within the course of 2 or 3 years. So that is a smart kid.
He also went and played baseball, didn't he?
He did play baseball. I mean, he played.
And then came back late to Wisconsin. Only played 1 year at Wisconsin.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's hard to make comparisons to Russell Wilson because he's obviously a very intelligent quarterback.
Or Russell Wilson. I'm not sure who Russell Wilton was. Maybe that's someone else. But yeah, it's hard to make comparisons to
Russell Wilson, man. Why you want to fuck
Jesus Christ, take the rocks out of your mouth. God damn.
Get on these nuts. Now, let's talk about some other interesting stuff. Johnny Manziel, Mr. Football,
is a fucking asshole.
It is so funny.
If the jury was still out on that kid, he is a fucking privileged asshole.
That's the problem, is he's fucking privileged, George. It's funny because I think
Kevin, real quick, and I want to get this off the University of Miami has been waiting 3 years on the NCAAs to hand down sanctions. That's why they've self-imposed scholarships and bowl bans.
Right.
They fucking figured out Johnny Manziel in less than 48 hours.
Oh yeah.
How?
I know. I mean, they say they have no evidence, but it was like, it was funny because Des Bryant, Des Bryant back when he was, who was he with? Texas Tech?
No, Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State. Des Bryant fucking lost the whole year because he had dinner with Deion Sanders.
But he lied about it.
And he lied about it. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
and I think that's what pissed the NC2As doesn't like to be lied about. And I think Johnny Manziel did this innocent bat in my eyes. I don't know. I didn't take any money.
You know what? And you know what? At the end of the day,
that means to me, his mommy and daddy, who are fucking, this is a trust fund kid. They told the NC2As, what United College Fund do I need to make a donation to?
Yeah, they probably had to say something. And it's funny, man, because obviously they didn't have any evidence against him, and so they couldn't build a case, so he got a slap on the wrist.
Here's what I don't understand. How do you not have any evidence when this fucking ninja has signed like 4,000 items, and I can go on the eBay and buy a Johnny Manziel fucking autographed thong?
That's the thing, people.
This man signs anything, and you're going to tell me this little ignorant motherfucker didn't take no money? I find that hard. Put it this way. He might not have taken the money, but if you read the article about his handler, this fucking mysterious kid who came out of nowhere, who basically makes sure Johnny Manziel is at all the right places.
Right.
Let's check that ninja's bank account and tell me where the zeros came from.
Yeah, exactly. Well, anyway, let's get back to him being more of an asshole yesterday. He has to sit out the first half of the game, right? Then he gets in. Now he plays well. He scores 3 touchdowns, but then he gets penalized, and his coach is like Kelvin Sampson. What the fuck's his coach's name? Whatever his coach's name is, like, you know what?
Yeah, the black dude.
Yeah, the black dude. It just says he gets penalized for taunting, and he's like, sit your ass back on the bench, which I loved, because it's like, you know what? You're not above this fucking game. You're acting like a child. You got away with a bunch of shit earlier. You've put so much fucking negative press on this fucking team. Sit your ass on the bench. And it's funny, man.
His coach and those guys have worked way too hard. They had guys on that team who were suspended.
Yeah.
For a whole entire game for team things.
Right.
So Manziel doesn't realize how lucky he's got it. And let me tell you, if I was one of those boys who got suspended and didn't play in that first game, I would fucking dead leg Johnny Manziel all day long. He wouldn't be able to run at practice. I just beat the shit out of him.
Absolutely. Now let's go to Bama. Okay, the number 1 ranked team in the country. They had them sitting at 1, all the polls. What did you? I tell you what, man. I think they fucking against a Virginia Tech team that has not been good, as of late. I thought they struggled. I mean,
I agree.
I thought
I think when their offensive line coach left, from what Mark May was saying, they don't look like the same team. They're struggling in basic fundamental things. And you know what? Nick Saban is the last person on the face of the planet I want to be sitting in a dark room with reviewing film.
Oh my God!
Those guys right now are getting brutal. If you don't think they're right now sitting in film study, because they were only in Georgia, and Georgia ain't that far from Bama. They got probably back late last night, and I'm gonna tell you what, I would not be surprised if they didn't have a 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. film study. And they are going to get brutalized by Nick Saban.
Well, this is the thing too, George. It's not that they lost their offensive line coach. They got 3 fucking freshmen on that offensive line. I'm going to tell you what.
Yeah, they got 3 brand new starters. I mean, they've missed some, and the thing is, they had less than 200 yards, or right around 200 yards of total offense. Mm-hmm. I mean, they won that game on a kick return, punt return, and defensive score for a touchdown. That's 21 points.
That's 21 points.
You take that away, I think they still would have won the game, but it was not pretty.
Yeah, but 21 points. I mean, that would have made it, what? 14-10. The thing is Alabama in the SEC with their schedule, I don't see them going. They're not going to go undefeated. They're going to have a couple losses, I would have to believe. Now, your boys.
I think they could possibly have 2 losses.
Yeah, that's what I said. I think they'll drop a couple, man. I mean, just because they're in the SEC. Now, speaking of the SEC, staying on the SEC, LSU was a little bit shaky at first with TCU, but in the second half, they put it on the Bamas. And what do you think about them?
Well, hell, they was shaky all the way into the fourth quarter. I mean, TCU had it within 3 points. I think the trio of running backs they have are just nasty.
Do you know what I did?
Go ahead.
You know what I did not realize? I never realized that Les Miles coached Oklahoma State. And I didn't realize that Jimmy Johnson coached Oklahoma State University. They both were coaches for Oklahoma State. I never knew that.
When I think of Jimmy Johnson, I just think of the U.
That's what I think of. But before that, he coached Oklahoma State. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
I had no idea.
But, back to LSU, because that's where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
Zach, as being an LSU fan, watching Zach Mettenberg, who's the quarterback, make some of these throws and then not make some of these throws is just infuriating.
Right.
Last night in the fourth quarter, they're driving when they need to score. They run the ball into the line, Now it's 3rd and 8. His receiver's running a 9. He looks up and throws it intentionally, back-shouldered it behind the receiver, and the receiver knew what was going on, and he threw it in the perfect place. And I'm just like, why? Why can't you do that every time?
Yeah.
I don't know. He makes some incredible throws, and then he just makes some throws. I'm like, what are you doing?
I think once LSU their offense gets on the same page, I mean, their defense looked good. I mean, I think once their offense gets on the same page, which will develop more, I think they're going to be right back at the top of the SEC again. You know?
I think, and look, not just because I'm an LSU fan, I think they are going to win it, but I think the team you got to watch out for is Georgia. I understand Georgia lost, but Georgia is fucking loaded.
Yeah.
That kid Gurley, who's there, and that's his last name, really. His last name's Gurley, but he runs like a fucking man.
He really does. I mean,
he's a monster at tailback.
I think the thing when you come out of Georgia, I don't think it's so that even though they cost a lot, I thought it just told you a lot about fucking Clemson. And I tell you what,
Clemson's the first team to beat 2 SEC teams back to back.
Yeah, so I mean they look good.
They beat LSU last year and they turn around and beat Georgia this year.
Yeah.
I think Clemson might win the entire ACC. It's going to come down to them and Florida State.
Yeah, I think so. And they meet Florida State, and you're so funny because they meet Florida State, and then the weekend after they're at Maryland, and everybody's saying that's the game you got to watch out for because they'll get so hyped up for Florida State, and then they'll fucking teams do it all the time.
We talk like you were just about to say. We talk about it all the time. There are trap games.
Yep.
When you only have to get up for a game or two,
yeah.
you could fall and slip, and I think that's what happens. But with the ACC coming around, I don't think Clemson's going to get caught in a trap game. I think their head coach is going to have them prepared all season long. I think if they get beat, they're going to get beat by a better team. I don't see them slipping up and losing to a team they should beat.
Right. I think, yeah.
And I'm not saying Maryland's a team they should beat, but right now, I mean, one's ranked, one's not. I mean, after yesterday, you were telling me, because I no longer live in Maryland, so I don't get the pleasure of watching, getting force-fed Maryland and the Redskins. And you sat there and told me Maryland did what they were supposed to do yesterday and hammer the school.
They hammered it. Now Florida International, I thought they were better. It was the year before, but last year they were just terrible. I went back to check out the record. But Maryland is looking good. Obviously now they got a system. They have their regular quarterback back. Maryland had the third or fourth string quarterback last year. Forget Maryland, because they're really not in the talk as much as I'd love to talk about them. Let's talk about the best of the rest. Ohio State did what they had to do. Oregon did what they had to do. But let's talk about the other fucking Oregon, because Oregon State, wow.
Yeah, they lost.
Upset by an FCS team. Mm-hmm.
They lost at home to an FCS team. And for you folks out there who don't know what an FCS team is, you have like Division I and then like the other guys.
Right.
Like the guys who aren't division. I mean, that's what they lost to, basically a D2 school at home being a ranked team. It was the first time in history.
Yeah.
Now, they weren't the only Division I school yesterday to lose to a D2 school, but the other D2 school won the national title in D2 like the last 2 years running. So like now North Dakota State or something.
North Dakota State, right. They're actually pretty decent, but
and Western Kentucky beat Kentucky.
Yeah, that was the other one. I couldn't figure out. I was losing my train of thought. Now, another team that I know you were really excited to see the loss was Boise State. Lost their opener. It's funny how Boise State.
No, seriously, no, I didn't hear you. What'd you say?
Boise State.
Did what?
Lost.
You sorry motherfuckers. No championship talk for you. Who'd they lose to?
Yeah, Boise State lost their opener. I mean,
who did they lose to? In all seriousness, I didn't know they lost. Who'd they play?
Boise State played Washington. Okay. Now, George, everybody is why George is slipping. George hates Boise State. Let me tell you something. Okay. And I'll tell you a little bit about the Boise State game, George, to get your cock hard, because I know you're getting real excited about this. Okay. Boise State. Okay. Who is ranked 19th in the country, because they always do this.
Whoops.
Played Washington. Okay.
Whoops.
Washington. The University of Washington, who is not even ranked.
Those motherfuckers are rotten.
Right. They're not even ranked, okay? Do you want to know what the score was? 38-6.
Oh!
No one's talking about this, because
Where
basically
was the game played?
It was played in Washington. It was played in Washington.
Dude, and it's right next door. It's not like they had to go far.
No. But let me tell you something.
Hopped on a bus. They didn't even get a plane ride.
Boise State has a lot of issues, because Washington's quarterback, Price, had 324 yards passing with 2 touchdowns. Now, that's not it, okay? The running back, Sankey, for Washington. Have you ever heard of Sankey? Okay.
No.
That Bama had 25 carries for 161 yards and 2 touchdowns. So this is against a team that's not ranked, everybody. So, the times in the past where we sat there and bitched about Boise State, no one talked about this because it was overshadowed. It was the first week in football. You had Manziel coming back, Alabama. You had Georgia versus Clemson. You had LSU. You had all these other big headlines. No one even gave a shit about Boise State. And no one brought up the fact that they got housed by Washington 38-6.
And you know what? After this week, we don't have to hear any more shit about Boise State, because I would be willing to bet, without even looking at their schedule, it's weak. They don't play another ranked team, and they're going to cry, because this will be their only loss. They'll run the table. They'll end up being like 10-1, 11-1, 9-1, and they're going to cry about how they're not in a BCS game.
Right. Now,
your strength of schedule sucks, and next year when there's a playoff system, trust me, even with your one loss, you're still going to be on the outside looking in. What you bitches need to do is either go to the Pac-12 or the Big 12 or the Pac-13 now or the Big 12. Instead, you keep fiddle fucking around between the Big East and the Mountain West and the Big East and the Mountain West and the Big East. No one fucking is going to come out of the Mountain West ever and win the national title. Fucking face facts. It's not going to fucking happen.
Speaking of this, I'm trying to find.
I'll be dead before a team from the Mountain West wins the national title in football.
Okay, hold on. You got this American Athletic Conference, okay? And I want to see exactly who's in it, because, they combine the Big East and,
because that's the new one. Yeah, no, because Boise State was supposed to go to the Big East. And then once they created, and everyone bailed from the Big East, they said, fuck that shit. And I'm pretty sure they went back to the Mountain West, because the Mountain West got themselves an automatic bid into the BCS.
Right. So you got,
now with the playoff system, that automatic bid don't mean shit.
Well, it doesn't. I mean, this year is the only year it would matter. But the American Athletic Conference has You've got Cincinnati, Houston, UCF, Louisville, Memphis, Connecticut, Rutgers, South Florida, South Methodist, SMU, Temple. And then you've got on the other side, Cincinnati, Houston. It's the same shit. I'm saying the same fucking teams. Oh, it's just those fucking.
That's going to come down to Cincinnati and Louisville.
Yeah, it's only got 10 teams.
The kid Bridgewater for Louisville is nasty as shit.
Right. So, I mean, it's not much. I mean, I don't see any of those teams making the playoffs.
No, it's also Rans. It's the almost teams.
Yeah.
They're almost really good.
The bottom line is with the 4-team playoff system, you're going to see 2 teams from the SEC every fucking year. And then you're going to see probably the other teams
potentially from the Pac-12 and Big 12.
And the Big 12 the Big 10.
Big 10.
Yeah.
Not even the Big 10. I'm talking about the Big 12 with Oklahoma and Texas and those schools. I
don't think so, man. Now that the Big 10 is so you got so many powerhouses in the Big 10 now. I think the Big 10 is stronger than
you know what we need to do? Mm-hmm. Make this 2 years of 4 teams and then expand that shit to 6 or 8.
Yeah.
And then take the winner from the Pac-12, the Big 12, the Big 10, the ACC, and the SEC. There's 5, and then pick one of the other.
Yeah.
Take the top team from those 6 conferences, and there you go. There's your playoff system.
It's going to be your winner, your winner of the SEC, and then the second best team in the SEC, and then it's going to be the next 2 spots will be between the teams between these 3 conferences, the Pac-10, the Big 12, and the Big 10 that have the best record. Unless a team from the ACC can sneak in there every once in a while, those 2.
I don't think you should be able to take 2 teams from a conference.
But
if it's only going to be 4.
I mean, as much as I hate the SEC because it dominates, getting fucking boring because I think you should because say for example I'm
with you, I agree, but I'm saying for people like you who hate the SEC, I would love to see other teams get in, so you don't have anything to complain about when the SEC wins.
No, I want to see the best teams get a chance. See, I don't complain about it because I feel like the SEC has the best teams in football, college football, without a doubt. But I'd like to see them not like a team that catches, for example, a team that doesn't play in strong of a conference like the Big 12 or the Big 10 or maybe even sometimes the Pac-10. I don't know. I wouldn't go that far. But say they cop 1 loss at the beginning of the season, they have an injury or something, and now they're not in a position to go in the national championship because of that 1 loss, but they've ran through the rest of their conference. I think that they should have a chance in trying to get that national title. Sometimes that's the only type of team that I would like to see in the playoff, and I think the 4 teams expanding.
Dude, I'm with you, but right now with the 4 teams, I think until you expand this shit out to 6 or 8, and take all the conference winners, and then you make that conference championship game at the end of the season actually count for something.
Right.
I mean, and then you make teams and you incentivize some of these conferences to expand and make it to where you get a conference championship.
Right.
Because if you get your conference if it's a battle of conference champions, I think that would be easier to try to figure out, because even in the end, they're going to try to come up with some mathematical equation. Fuck it. It should come down to wins and losses.
Yeah. And then,
is what it should come down to, and quality of opponent, because that automatically eliminates Boise State.
Yeah, the Big 12, man, it's, at one time was such a powerhouse, man, but now Nebraska's fucking gone. You fucking lost, whatchamajig went to, the Big 12. Who else?
Missouri's gone.
Missouri's
gone. Missouri? One team went to the SEC. A&M went to SEC, and another team went to the SEC.
Yeah, so, I mean, you really look at it, it's 3 good teams there. I mean, you got Oklahoma. I mean, K-State just they lost.
And see, to me, this would be the perfect time for Boise State to go to a conference like the Big 12, help be part of the revitalization, take your lumps, get on TV, have more people recognize you. Good luck trying to convince any brother south of fucking Mississippi to come up to fucking Idaho and freeze his dick off.
That's what I didn't understand. You got June Jones, who's trying to rebuild a program at SMU. I didn't understand why they did not go into the Big 12. Why did they go to this AA, the American Athletic Conference? I just think, and that's just confusing. Now you have the AAC and the ACC. Anyway, man, we're getting the fuck out of here, everybody. Leave your comments below, because we're just pumped. We could talk about this shit for hours, man. And you know what?
Sounds like fucking the alphabet soup of colleges.
Exactly, man. Anyway, everybody.
I know, snitches.
Take care. Later.